All right, welcome to the show. It is Friday, June 14th, 2024. That's halfway through the year, Aaron. Uh, I'm Terry
heebie-jeebies.
Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group, and my mission is to inspire you to fall deeper in love with your business. And it's good to be back, Terry. We're going to catch up on some past events and talk about
Yeah,
some future events, and just talk about in-person opportunities in general. And it's been cool right here in 2024 to kind of be back out. I've been back out on the road more than I have in years past, and you're out on the road again, and you just had another event. And so I think
right.
this is a cool week here, Terry, and to just get into that and talk about past, present, future, and see what's going on out there in the world.
Yeah, we used to do a lot more recapping of events once we got back, and I think that we've all gotten so busy that we kind of glossed over a few of those, and so good opportunity to kind of go back and talk a little bit about what's going on out there in the industry up to this point, halfway through the year, and what's coming in the future. So,
Yes,
but hey, make sure everybody stays to the very end and get your helping of the secret sauce. Today's going to be from our art guy, Dane Clement. This week should be pretty spicy, Aaron. Dane is going to talk about some things that Adobe is doing to its Photoshop users on the AI side that he is not thrilled about. So stay for some extra spice and, of course, Cajun style from our good friend Dane from New Orleans.
yes, indeed. Yeah, Dane, I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. Yeah, like I said, he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't too thrilled about some of this. So he's just going to give us the real scoop, I think. That's what I love about Dane. You never get any glossed over. He just gives it to you straight. So,
Aaron, I've been hearing little bits and pieces about this, so I'm pretty anxious to hear what Dane has to say, because he definitely has the inside track on Photoshop type issues.
Yeah. And I've said this many times about Dane, but the other thing I love about Dane is, even though he's an art guy, like a legit, like, can paint with his hands, that kind of really amazing abilities that he has, he's embracing this AI thing, right? He's showing us how to use it, where to use it, what makes sense right now, and then he keeps up with it. So because it's changing faster than you can ever imagine. And so it's cool to have somebody like Dane as our art guy to help us navigate these ever-changing waters of AI and artwork.
and Aaron, he didn't go kicking and screaming like a lot of folks do when things change. He spent about 10 minutes going, "What the heck is this? Okay, well, this is the future. I'm in."
Yeah. And that is Dane through and through. So,
and I also love about the fact about him that he absolutely loved my first book, Sometimes Jennifer, and I still need to find out if he ever got around to reading Beer, Bait, and Barbecue. So,
I have it next to my bed, Terry. I promise that I
ready to read.
Do intend to read it. I just it will happen.
Yeah, you're going to be traveling here right away. I think you just slide it in your bag. And
that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, I'll take it from beside my bed and I'll get in my backpack. Yeah, I actually am going to have some downtime in this next trip. So good idea. I'll make note of that. If you could put that on the junior,
you won't be able to put it down. I'm just saying.
All right, perfect. I've got some time. All right, so put that on the junior yellow legal pad for me, though, Terry. Make a note.
Got it.
All right. Well, Terry, we've also got Cassie Green with the Apparelist to share some news and what's happening out there in the world. She's been busy, but she's taking some time to get us some news happenings here. So, are you ready to shoot it over to Cassie?
Absolutely. Let's hear the news.
Hello, regulators. Thanks again for having me this wonderful Friday morning. Got lots of headlines to share with you this week, so let's just jump in. First headline, carbon black survives assault ban in New York State. Now, this is all about the carbon black printing ban that's been proposed across several states. And this most recent development is all about how it failed in New York State. So, extended producer responsibility, or EPR legislation, once again failed to pass the New York State legislature. While the legislation passed the state Senate, it was not voted on in the Assembly before the legislature adjourned for the year. Therefore, EPR will not be enacted in New York State in 2024. So, backstory on this. Earlier this year, Printing United Alliance reported that the legislature was considering an EPR program for packaging that would have set requirements for packaging reduction, incorporation of recycled content, and a ban on the use of certain toxic chemicals that included the use of carbon black-based materials, such as black printing inks. The bill was reintroduced in February 2024 as an amended version of the 2023 bill. The carbon black ban not only threatened any printers involved in packaging or label converting, but it also meant any company selling a product into New York State would be prohibited from doing so if it contained black ink or four-color process printed images. So, you think this does not apply to apparel decorators? It definitely does. Make sure to read that full report from Gary Jones, who is our Vice President of Environmental Health and Safety Affairs, for all of the information you need to know. Second headline is also in the world of inks. Now, this happened a few weeks ago, but I really felt it was worth sharing. Avient launches Rutland Evolve Bioplastisol inks. Avient Corporation announces the launch of Rutland Evolve Bioplastisol inks for the screen printing industry. Created with 56 to 59% bio-derived content and tested to ASTM B6866, Rutland Evolve Bioplastisol inks can reduce screen printers' reliance on fossil fuel-based inks while introducing more sustainable practices to plastisol screen printing shops. These inks are currently offered in white and mixing-based inks and provide an intuitive printing experience with standard screen printing equipment and processes. Final headline for all of you this morning: 730 Printing Tour kicks off. Automated screen printing descending on 9 U.S. cities. 730 Printing, in partnership with Rock US and MadeLab, announces the 730 Printing Tour. This summer, the tour will travel to 9 major U.S. cities, showcasing the designs of 730 Printing, artist and influencer Austin Babbitt, and the Rock U automatic screen printing press through live demonstrations, workshops, and discussions with hundreds of attendees. Starting from Chicago on June 14th, the tour will feature stops in cities such as New York City, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. Attendees will have the opportunity to witness the Rock U press on the road, a first for Rock. The tour aims to educate and inspire the brand and print communities, offering fresh hands-on experiences and expert insights, according to a press release from Rock US. Attendees will even have the opportunity to print on their own apparel brought from home on the Rock U press. So make sure you click on that link if you're interested in seeing where the tour stops in its full tour around the country. That's everything I have for you guys this week. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer weekend.
All right, man, I love this new segment where we have the folks from the magazines and come in, and beyond magazines with the apparel list to come in and do the news and just kind of get a little better perspective on the industry, having some other folks participate in the show.
Yeah. Because I think in the past, we were kind of, just reading really their newsletters and going, okay, yeah, let's plug that in there. But they're giving us a little more depth to it because they're actually out there researching it and just not something that, is part of what we do. So with them saying, hey, yeah, we'd love to do that. Gosh, it's been really cool. So thanks very much to Cassie and to all the folks that have been supporting us and helping us out with that news segment, Terry. So it's been great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, you have been stepping up to the plate, man, with dad jokes. So you have another one for us today.
I do. And again, I will go back and give credit where credit is due. Michelle Wilson gave me this really great calendar. And since we just flipped another month, I got a new one that I really like. So if you are ready, here we go, Terry.
Let's hear it.
All right, Terry, I don't know if you knew this about me or not, but I have a really severe mistrust of stairs.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're always up to something.
That's a dad joke.
It is a dad joke.
All right. Hey, before we go any further, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We need your voices still. We would love to have some more regulators participate in these show intros. If you'd like to do that, go to decorators.ink./intro. Read a few sentences and be a part of the show. And we talk about every week, we have a few coming in, but don't be left out. We'd like all the regulators to jump in there and be a part of the intros of the show. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys to book a future episode, or email us at info@2regularguys.com with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcast. Wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions.
Indeed. And make sure that you're sharing this with a friend so we can hopefully get everybody up to speed on all the events and all the happenings, and then hopefully see you guys out there in the real world. IRL, as the kids call it these days, I believe. That may have been what they called it a couple years ago, but I'm going to go with that.
My big book of travel is travel again. It's not the big book of here's where I would have been if that show weren't people.
It's not the big book of eraser clippings.
Hey, I actually went on Amazon today. I had to order my 2025 because all these new events are being. I know.
Not ready for that.
Events are being announced, so I thought I need to start keeping track.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a great segue into where we're at here, Terry. So first and foremost, it's good to be back. I missed you guys last week, and I want to first thank Eric for sitting in for me. And I was actually off, speaking of events, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I was hosting the inaugural Fundamentals Live event. And so we'll talk about that in just a moment. But kudos to Christine for joining us and then making it through an episode without any need for me to edit the audio.
It's funny. I tried to participate as much as I could. And I even said, someone like Aaron, who has 15 minutes of training, what would he buy in this situation? But then we got to a point where I just was submerged in embroidery talk.
Yeah,
and I kind of backed up a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of like when you do the Homer, right, into the shrubs, backing away.
Exactly.
No, it's awesome. So we're able to maintain our PG rating on Apple Podcasts, and as we talked about at the top there, Terry, I thought let's catch up a little bit though, and just kind of what have we seen out there? What's the recap, like you said, I think we used to do a little bit more of a recap after we come back, and we've just been so busy. So we'll kind of get the big picture here, and then looking into the future a little bit more. What are some opportunities for people to connect face to face? And so I guess let's start with talking about. We kind of broke these up into two different segments, actually, in a way, kind of more general events. And that'll be kind of the first segment here. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more like specific trade show type events. So does that sound like a good plan?
Let's do that.
Okay. All right. And I know you also, I mentioned that I was away at an event, but you must have, like, as soon as we got done, said, all right, see you guys, and got on an airplane.
About an hour after we were done recording the show, I was headed to the airport.
There you go. So you had a screen printing class out at Atlas Screen Supply and just outside of Chicago. So let's start there. How did that go?
Oh, awesome. Those guys at Atlas do such a good job bringing people in. They sell out every single class, and we were trying to guesstimate. I've been teaching class there for about 15 years.
Wow.
And sometimes they have a waiting list that is the same size of the class. They have that many people trying to get in there for the class. And hey, it's beautiful that they're located in Chicago. It's a huge population area around there, but
sure.
There were two folks there from New Orleans. they were too, well, I'm going to say New Orleans. They were there from Louisiana, because the more they talked, the further back into the into the backwoods they were. But a couple of folks from Atlanta, so they get people in from all over. And a couple of things I wanted to mention about that class is because those guys are so good about having all their employees attend that class, no matter no matter what your job is in the company. You have to come to the screen printing class. But they do evaluations, and they really talk it up all during class. Hey, we really want you guys to do this evaluation for the class, and because every improvement we've ever done is based on suggestions from people attending the class, and they're just so good about getting input to improve the class. And a flip side here I wanted to mention, and it's just kind of struck me as I'm teaching the class, because when we do our first multicolor print, and of course I'm printing wet on wet, the hands go up. Wait, aren't you supposed to flash between colors? And after all these years of teaching this class, and I started at US Screen with this class, and so over 20 years, and you would think at some point those kind of questions would go away. It's more now than it ever was, because there's so many people on the internet saying, okay, well, you print and you flash and you print and you flash, because I don't know how many times we've said here, Aaron, that the internet is filled with Band-Aids.
Yes.
And so somebody has a press that doesn't hold registration. Somebody's using poor quality screens. Somebody's using poor quality film output. And the Band-Aid is, well, print it and flash it, print it and flash it, rather than fix the problem. And I guess it's going to keep me busy teaching screen printing classes for as long as I want to do it, because there were, I guess, multiple people in this class that were just baffled. In fact, you could tell who they were, because when I stand right there when they print a 4-color and then we do a 5-color, and they keep grabbing the platen and try to push it over to the flash after every print. I'm like, nope. We're wet on wet in this class. We're all about making money. We're not about spending time at the press.
Well, but that is, I mean, just from that bigger picture perspective of that whole thing, that really is what it is. I mean, you see, and this isn't just in screen printing, you see this all over the place. Like, I was watching a video the other day, somebody showing how to make tumblers. Mm-hmm. And like, they had so much tape on that tumbler. Like, I get it, right? They want to make sure that it's like really sealed on there, but there's better ways to do that, right? Like shrink film. Like, oh my gosh, how much time did that take you? And then how much tape are you wasting? Oh man. And so, you just see that, like you said, it's just a Band-Aid for, but it really looks good on, because it is a video, and they've edited it, right? They didn't show the 20 minutes that it took to tape things up. They didn't show every single like print, flash, that they just go, it's all edited out. So when you do it in person, of course they're not going to make money, because it takes them 3 times as long to make the same product.
Aaron, I'm sure you remember this. One time we talked about things we'd like to see in the future. We talked about, wouldn't it be awesome if every training video that's on the internet had some kind of seal of approval, or, and of course I thought, just to add to it, at the beginning, there's a little stamp that comes across the screen that says crafter,
And, and it's not that, and it's not really that, what we're saying is the exact right way. Like, I think, what I've always said, and what I know about you is, if there's a better way, we're certainly open to it, but we want to ask the questions, like, why, right? Why do you have to use that much tape? And is there another way? Or why do you have to flash between, like, getting down into, so it's not to say that, oh, well, my way is the right way, and just go with that. It's, you've done this in a production environment where not only are you trying to put out the best quality print, but you're also trying to make it the most efficient, so your company actually makes money instead of not making money, right? And spending 180 hours a week. I don't think that's possible, but you get the point.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though, but you're exactly correct. But and a lot of the classes out there too are like that. No, this is the only way. Gosh, I can't even remember his name anymore. And you might, there was a gentleman who and I think he's long since retired.
I know.
He made
I know who you're talking about, but I think I'm going to keep his name to ourselves for right now, just in case.
Well, he would tell people in his classes, "Oh no, you use capillary film to make your film positives." And capillary film is an awesome product if you want to print on hard substrates, but printing on garments, those films just fall apart after a while. The middle of the E start falling out. The middle of the eyes start falling off the screen, and it's like, I don't even understand. I didn't understand 20 years ago him saying, "No, this is how you do it." And other classes where they say you must push the squeegee. You never pull the squeegee. And in my class, day 1, everybody pulls the squeegee, and day 2, everybody pushes the squeegee. And I tell them, I'm doing this because I want you to find what you're comfortable with. And so I guess I've been doing it long enough too that I've shaken out the kinks a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's funny too, though, because we always have a little meeting after the class with the staff up there at Atlas, and we came up with this whole new concept about, okay, we're going to change the beginning of the class and do this instead after all these years, and I'm super excited about it. So
there you go. Very cool. I love it. Awesome.
But you just had your event, and I haven't talked to you for more than 2 seconds to find out how it all went.
Yeah. So the reason why I wasn't able to be with you guys last Friday was we had, as I mentioned, kicked off the inaugural Fundamentals Live. It kind of got shortened into Fun Live, but the idea was taking the content of the book and not just teaching it, right? Like, you can read the book. We can do video stuff on this. It was about, okay, here's the idea. Now let's actually do activities. So it was awesome. We started off by really getting people to not just think about what their why is, why they started this business, but to actually be able to put some language to it that resonated for them. And this was something, and I've been on this kind of journey ever since I decided to do the success principles, right? It's kind of searching the mountains tops for my reason, my purpose.
Exactly.
I was so lucky to have such a great career, but I just always felt unfulfilled. And I just decided, you know what, I gotta have some more fulfillment if I'm gonna be putting this much of myself into it, because I me, I like to go hard and put a lot of myself into everything that I do. It's just a fortunate thing that I've kind of become. But anyhow, the point was that I spent years and years and years trying to figure it out. And I was able to find this formula that in the span of about an hour and a half, everybody in the class had something that this really resonated with what it was, why they decided to do this, right? So when the days get rough, when, things aren't going so well, they've got a messed up project or something like that, they just look up and go, okay, this is my reason. And it brings back that feeling of passion about it, right? Like, a couple of people, we went around the room and everybody shared what theirs was. And like, I got goosebumps a couple of times, because like, wow, that's amazing. And that's you, right? It really felt good. So that was how we kicked things off. And I'm like, man, okay, that went really well. So I'm hoping that's not a sign that things are not going to go so well from here. And it was good. So that was actually just set the stage for a lot of other good things. We talked a lot about mindset on the first day, just understanding that being a small business owner, right? We want to know the things, how you do this nuts and bolt type thing. But the reality is, for each business owner, the real thing that's holding them back is the limiting beliefs they have about their abilities and about what it is that's possible. And so we spent some time kind of working on some techniques, because what I've come to discover is our limiting beliefs, our fears, those things are not necessarily a bad thing. It's not something that we have to shun and just kind of grind over the top of. We can actually partner with those things to do even better, right? And so we just have to kind of partner with our subconscious is what we talked about. And so the first day was incredible. We were all kind of on a high, and even went and sat down and had some dinner together as a group, and just continued the conversations going. And I don't think any of us wanted it to stop. We came back Saturday morning, and those folks that, because the whole point of this was looking at ourselves as business owners as a whole person, not just, okay, here's Terry Combs, the business owner, and then there's Terry Combs, the father, there's Terry Combs, the, this, that, the other thing. It's, here's Terry Combs, right? Here's Aaron Montgomery. Here's the people that were in the event with us. And let's look at you as a whole person and what will make you, feel like every day you get to be in business instead of having to do the things each day. And so we actually started with those that wanted to join some yoga. Kylene led a yoga class, and it was really cool to just see people understanding that their health was also important to this journey. In fact, one of the young ladies in the class, her goal that she set for the next 12 months had to do with her physical well-being as opposed to her business, because she realized that if she could get that to where she wasn't spending all of her time at doctor's appointments or not feeling good and not having energy, that her business was going to thrive because she would be feeling better. Right. And so we started off with the yoga. We dug into what our goals were and talked about the whole process of being a goal getter versus a goal setter. And everybody set clear goals that we were going to be achieving. We did lots of different exercises where we either work together in groups, we'd work together as the whole group. And the whole thing, I mean, I've got pictures and videos of just the smiles. My cheeks still hurt from smiling, to be honest with you. And so yeah, it was incredible. We kind of ran hard all day on Saturday, and like the yoga started at 7. We didn't actually leave because everybody wanted to kind of mill around and talk to each other and just take pictures. And we actually had a workbook. This is one of the blank extra ones, but the last page, I thought this would be kind of cool. If you can see it there in the picture, kind of an autograph page. So it's kind of like getting your yearbook signed at the end of the school year.
I love it.
So everybody signed each other's workbooks. And so anyhow, we didn't get out of there until 5:30, 6 o'clock. And, we'd started at 7, and none of us were like, really? We've been here all that time? Nobody's
checking their watch, right?
Yeah. Nobody was, I was checking my watch going, oh my gosh, I got to try to get in here. Are you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, let's go. And so we all took a quick break, kind of went and back to the hotel for some folks. I went back home, changed clothes, and then we did a future you party. So
this is what I've been waiting to hear about.
Okay. All right, good. So this will wrap it up. I know that I've been talking a lot, but it was so exciting and so incredible. So future you party. We all showed up, we kind of got settled in, and we all made an agreement that from that point forward for the rest of the night, we were all going to act as if we were 5 years in the future, and this was a reunion where we were all talking about all of the amazing things that had happened in the 5 years since we left. Right. So the goals that we were working on, what our businesses had become, where we ended up at, just whatever you envisioned your life being 5 years in the future, you just basically were an actor living that out. And again, we all agreed to do it. And a couple people brought their significant others with them that weren't part of the class. And we asked them to play as well. And they did. And
did
so
any of them say, no, I met him at the hotel, but this is my future.
Yeah, this is my future. That's right. No, there was none of that, fortunately. So yeah, the whole room. And what that did for us, not only was it fun, right? You kind of get to just live, people were dressed up nice and just really kind of acting as if everything was going really well. So you had that part, right? Just all those positive feelings that we were creating and all that positive energy. But then it also, the fun part, that's part of it, but there's a actual reason. There's a brain, like your brain, when you act that much, like when you really go into it and visualize as if it's actually happened, your brain, your subconscious brain can't handle that juxtaposition between where you're at right now and what you're really dreaming. And because of all those positive feelings, you're getting these dopamine hits at the same time. And so your subconscious goes to work to figure out how to make those things happen. So in a week from now, people are going to have these like things that pop up going, oh, yeah. I remember thinking about that in the Future You party, and I should do this, right? Or I should contact this person, or the person's going to show up and say, hey, right. It creates all these connections for us.
Yeah.
That there is actually a lot of brain science around this. It's not all just woo-woo stuff anymore, because the more people lean into these types of things, the more scientists out there are going, this is baloney. And then they go try to disprove it, and they find out that it's actually real. And so then
they saying it's science, and here it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's science, and it really is science, not just time travel in this moment. So anyhow, that's the whole point of the Future You party. Obviously, it's a lot of fun, but it also gets us moving forward. And again, you just leave with like this. I spent all day Sunday just kind of basking in everybody's glory, right? It wasn't just that the event went so well. I mean, obviously I was really grateful for that, and grateful for all the people that helped me put it on, especially my wife. I can't thank her enough for her support and all the things she did to make it go smooth. But just, again, being a little part of everybody's amazing journey that they're going to be on here is really incredible. So
yeah, that's fantastic. Aaron, when you told me about this event months ago, when you told me about the Future You party, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I thought, what an awesome idea. And I knew that people were going to totally get into it, and make for a perfect way to end the event,
Yeah, it totally is. And so, yeah, we can't wait to just based on how it went. We had a debrief with my wife and Becky and Tanya, who also helped kind of bring it all together. But they also got to participate as students in it this time around, because I really wanted them to be able to give feedback from that place. And so with very few minor changes, it's something we're definitely going to make happen again. They were talking this year. I'm not sure I can do that, but hey, if they can pull that,
have to show up, Aaron.
Yeah, at this point, it's kind of been built. So I said, hey, if that's something you guys want to pull off, I'm all behind you on it. Let's make it happen. So if not this year, definitely sometime early part of next year, we'll host another similar event. So I cannot wait.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, good job. That's I know it was a huge undertaking for you. So, and you were going to try to do the show on Friday, and Aaron and I or Eric and I are both like, hey, we can just do the show. Why don't you go make sure you take care of any fires that break out before the event starts.
No, I super appreciate that. I'd kind of thought about that, but then I was just like, you know what, I don't actually start until noon, and so I'd have an hour in there. And anyhow,
well, fantastic, good deal. I love it.
Thank you. And then another event that I got to do just real quick the week before that. So I met a gentleman. He was in one of my classes at the DAX show earlier this year in Kansas City, and he runs a group in his county, which is about an hour and a half from where I'm at in Missouri, called Franklin County. Washington, Missouri is the big city there in Franklin County. And he puts together a group of fellow business owners that get together once a month and just are there to support each other. And so they call it the Franklin County Mastermind Group. And so anyhow, I had met him, super nice guy. He actually, he ended up in my class. I think I may have told you about him or not, but he ended up in my class because he showed up for the show, got there, and kind of had a bunch of things going on, so he didn't really sign up for any classes. And Ryan from Transfer Express, who had said, so what classes are you signed up for? And he's like, none. And he's like, what? You weren't signed up for Aaron's classes, for Dane's classes? And Ryan just basically talked him into it. And so he went and signed up, got in my first class. And after we got done with the first class, he's like, "Hey, I'll be right back." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We're done." So, and then he comes back. He says, "All right, well, I'm signed up for your class. I'm also now signed up for Dane's and Charlie's or one other thing like that." And and he's like, and then he came back and sat right back down and it says, "Yeah, and I'm here." Right. So he did both my classes. So
I don't think if people who've never attended one of those, a trade show event like that, don't necessarily realize the huge benefit of attending the seminars and workshops, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I know it's an extra investment of some money to do that. If it's a true educational scenario, occasionally there's a few places where they'll sponsor it or whatnot, and you get an education. But in the true education, yeah, you might have to, I think it, was $35 on site or something like that. Obviously I know it was my presentation and all, so I'm certainly going to be biased. But what I really loved was the fact that, and this from your classes, right? Every time I've sat in the back of your classes, you're sharing up there, but there's really actually just a lot of conversation going on too.
Yeah.
Right. You're talking to people are feedback, you're asking questions. Right? So it was just really about, talking to each other and building and learning. And, I kind of provided the framework and then we all kind of learned together. So anyhow, short story, really long here, Terry. we kind of became friends on Facebook and that kind of thing. And in his little mastermind, not little, I don't mean to belittle it at all. In his mastermind program, he was talking about bringing in some guest speakers, and he said, "Hey, would you be willing to do that?" And I'm like, "Sure." And so I went over there, drove down one morning, and he had the group in there. We were actually in a karate studio. It was kind of cool. They let us in there. They had a nice little setup in there. And we just talked about how to achieve goals. And I think what I'm really loving about being able to get out there and get back to really focusing in on teaching again is that kind of the light bulb moments that people have around each other that seem to spark the people next to them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, that experience. If anybody that's listening to this has ever done any speaking, you'll know that experience too. If you're somebody out there that's listening that hasn't done any speaking and you've got something to share, which by the way, you do, go back I don't remember how many shows ago that was, Terry, when we talked about how to put together your own class.
Right.
But it's that electricity, it's that light bulb moment that, so I was like, man, how do I do more of that? So anyhow, he's like, come back whenever. I'm like, all right, I don't want to be your only speaker, but yes, please. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I remember you saying you were going there, but I don't think I knew that what the whole scope of it was. So.
Yeah. So that was great. So, all right. Well, Terry, you already talked a little bit about your past screen printing classes, but as you said, they sell out. So what's coming up in the future? What are you kind of looking forward to? You mentioned you guys we're going to maybe try something new. Is that a secret you can share?
Just I guess it's not so much new information, but and Aaron, you probably remember helping in screen printing class where we have to kind of skip around a little bit. Like, okay, we're going to jump over and everybody's going to degrease their screen right now before we actually talk about degreasing screens, because we have to get them dry so we can coat them. And we're going to be talking about coating screens. And so we just kind of discussed a way to just kind of walk through the process, physically walk through the process, watch a film being output, go out, and this is how we're going to burn the screen, and do the whole kitchen, the cooking show where, and okay, once we burn the screen, we're gonna have the screen here, we're gonna go tape it up, and we're gonna put it on the press. And I thought, that's really a really great idea, because I can see, as I'm looking around the rooms, sometimes people are not keeping up, or it's the second day before it all kind of comes together in their mind. So I just like the idea of it, and was not my suggestion. It was actually Paul Gayton, who's the vice president there at Atlas Screen Supply. But I'm going to kind of tie it in there at Workhorse Products as well. Still on and off looking for someplace on the East Coast to do class. It's never quite
Okay.
worked out. But and speaking of these classes, Aaron, I was just thinking the other day about how, what 10, 20 years ago, Scott Fresner used to walk into the class and say, okay, now screen printing will be gone in 3 years now that you come to Arizona for the class. And
20
before
years
he
ago,
could leave the room, I'd be walking up there going, that is incorrect. Screen printing's going nowhere.
yeah,
And I'm hearing more and more of that again about, well, it was going to be DTG was going to take it over. And then the biggie, you remember, was white toner. That's gonna take over the industry, and needless to say, that never happened. And now it's DTF. DTF's going to take all these things. Are awesome. These are just more tools in your tool belt. But and there are folks in the industry that seem to take some delight in the failure of others, and that bothers me a lot. But
me too.
It's dead. I'm sure those guys are going to be out of business, and those guys are going to be out of business, and it's just like, I don't know, somebody just loving to talk about the train wreck. Well, there's no train wreck in screen printing. Like I said, these classes are sell out, and everybody in this class was either already had started their screen printing business, or they were on the cutting edge of starting it. And man, they're just like the folks you were talking about in your event, the fundamentals event, that they were just super excited when they left. They could not wait to get back and try all the things they'd learned in class, and they're ordering all the specialty inks that I talk about in class. I need some of this, I need some of that, and of course, the guys at Atlas are loading them up. Plus at Atlas, they give them a big box of like all the things we've used in class. They give them emulsion, and they give them all the different things that we do in class. That's in a gift box that they either drive home with, or if they flew in, they ship it to them. But that class has come a long way, and the class as a whole has come a long way from the basis at US Screen, and when Scott shut things down there, I said, hey, I'm not done teaching class. And he's like, more power to you. And so it's just evolved from those days. So screen printing classes are here to stay,
Nice.
And I'm going to keep doing them for a good long time, I feel like.
Good. That'll be a sad day when you decide that you're done with that, because I think lots and lots of people out there are getting lots and lots of great information. Terry, you glossed over really quickly, I think, at least in my opinion, that there's an opportunity for a screen print supplier that is out there on the East Coast. Just remembered, you heard it, right? Go to this website there, or just reach out to Terry directly. This is a really good opportunity. I don't know all the specific details of it, but based on the fact that Atlas is so invested in it, Workhorse is so invested in it, it's got to be a win-win situation for everybody. So
nobody does this out of goodness of their heart, and we do Saturday and Sunday, and like the guys at Atlas, 4 times a year, sometimes 5 times a year, they spend their entire weekend there helping with that class, and same with at Workhorse Products. There are people in there that spend the entire weekend helping people to become screen printers, and it's for my class anyway, it is non-sales oriented. Those guys say, hey, if you want to buy anything, talk to us over lunch, but there's no pitch, there's nothing like that. It's all education, and they actually thrive. The first thing they say, both locations, is Terry doesn't work for us. Terry's in here to teach class. He's going to just tell you the way it is. So it's been. I
think it's a huge opportunity. Formula. So if you are somebody that maybe you'd like to increase your screen printing supply business, maybe you're looking to make a name for yourself, this is the way to do it. Somebody that's been doing this a long time, and obviously is going to tell it like it is, but at the same time have a lot of fun doing it along the way. So
people have a good time in the class. Hey, I have to tell you this. There was a gentleman in the class. He goes, well, I'm a professional comedian. And I said, let me stop you right there. I do the jokes in this class.
I am not a professional comedian, but I will be handling the jokes. Oh man. All right. Well, maybe you could have him, help write some material for you or something.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Well, there was
maybe my stuff's stale, but they've never heard it. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's like somebody asked me, well, why do you use that same 5-color eagle design that you print on the black t-shirts? I'm like, well, I've been using it for years. They've never seen it before. It's still good. It's still a perfect example of what I'm trying to teach them,
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, before we get to a break, I know we're, shocking, you and I chatting forever, but we're having a good time doing it. So one other event that I wanted to bring up here, Terry, is an event called SkillsUSA. And those longtime listeners of the show are familiar with the program. We've had way back when I first started getting involved with it, we actually had at the time Johnny Shell with SGIA, and SGIA was actively involved in making the competitions happen. And now Printing United is supporting, but and I'm not real sure. Somebody asked me about the screen printing competition yesterday or earlier this week, and I said, you know what? I've been so busy with the sublimation competition. I actually don't know who's in charge of it this year. Last year it was Brett Bowden. The year before that it was Brett Bowden. But he had a lot on his plate too. So I know it's happening. How about that? So, anyways, SkillsUSA, for those that aren't familiar with it, is a national organization that puts on this annual competition, and this annual competition starts at the state level. So every state has a SkillsUSA chapter, and at the state level, they will host a competition there. In fact, sometimes they even, depending on the state, they might actually have some regional competitions that lead into their state competitions. And these young people that are in high school and some in post-secondary, they call it, in college or technical school side, will compete in whatever their trade is. So SkillsUSA encompasses 115 different competitions. So you've got everything from HVAC to automotive repair to, there's jet engines there. There's hair and nails. There's t-shirt design. There's a photography, AV, IT. Again, 115 different competitions. And so each state has the opportunity to host one of those competitions. And then the winners of the state get to come to nationals. And for the last 2 years, they've been in Atlanta. In fact, they just let us know that they've signed a contract and made an agreement with the Georgia World Congress Center there in Atlanta that they will actually be in Atlanta through 2033. So quite a time. And so anyhow, all of these kids that win their state competition then get to come out to this national competition. And SkillsUSA then works with industry partners like previously SGIA and now, for whatever reason, little old me. I think I was the only one dumb enough to say yes, but because here's the deal. It is it's the most fulfilling thing. One of the most fulfilling things that I get to do all year, but is also one of the most costly from a time and economic perspective, because we're all volunteering our time, and we have to also then get people to volunteer the supplies, the equipment, the things that we need to make this competition happen. And then we need to give these kids prize packages for winning these competitions. And so some of the competitions, they're sponsored by, Mac Tools or, John Deere or, the Army or Air Force and things like that, where those are the people working on it. And like, there was one competition the first year I was there, and they had all of their prizes kind of laid out in front of it. And it was like $50,000 in tools and equipment and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. So last year in sublimation, we got to about a $10,000 total prize package, which just so blessed by. So anyhow, we then, have to reach out to industry suppliers and people like that. And so I'm going to name the names here because I think this is important. They have really stepped up and been so supportive and just have made this happen. So we've got Stalls is heavily involved. They are incredible. They, what do you need? And they take care of it and they make it easy. And there's no like, oh, I don't know if we have the budget for that. They're just like, what do you need? Right. And sewingmachine.com, who's there in Atlanta. Richard is a friend of mine, but their company, they actually have a separate division called Applied. And I'm sorry, Richard, I'm not going to get it right. But anyhow, they also directly work with some of the schools. So they show up and help a ton and provide a lot of prizes and equipment to use. David Gross was very involved with Condi. And we've heard, I think we've talked about it on the show before. They're no longer in business, but I did hear something earlier this week that it may be coming back, just not the same. So I'll get the direct scoop from David here coming up at the SkillsUSA competition, because even though he's retired, he and his wife are going to be there helping out. In fact, he's donating out of his personal supply of stuff. Ann Crum, who's with Phoenix Inkjet Solutions. So she's really on the industrial sublimation side and the inkjet side. But she's been on our podcast before. She's heavily involved in the Women in Print program there at Printing United. And she's been on our show here before. Fantastic lady. And she's helping out. Instagraphics Heat Presses is helping out. Danish from Silky Socks, we had him on the show a few years back. Sure. And his energy, they're helping out. Heat Press Nation is providing supplies and sponsorship. Artistry, Atlanta Vinyl is there in Atlanta, and they're going to come and be judges, and they want to set up like kind of a mentorship for the program for the kids. Stephanie Young, who's with Caesar, has been hugely helpful. And I had somebody new today that I don't want to still want to miss. Oh, not new. So I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. We will have a full list and I will get it out there and we'll be talking about it.
This won't be the last time we talk about SkillsUSA.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm pretty sure I got everybody. But then the last person I wanted to mention is Kristen with Thread Designs. Now, here's the thing I love about Kristen's story with all this. Kristen has been a long-time listener of Two Regular Guys. And about 3 years ago, right, I was on here kind of begging for judges and and she lives in Minnesota. I've had the pleasure of meeting her in person at a seminar up there at DAX in Minnesota. And she just reached out and she said, I sublimate. I think this is a great program. If I came out, and would that be helpful? I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be super helpful. And so she's not, she obviously doesn't have anything to sell at all to these kids or the schools, right? These are not her future customers or anything like that. She just does this because it's important to her. And she's been a judge for the last 2 years and is coming out again this year. Her own dime, flies down there, hotel on her own dime, all that other stuff. Unfortunately, I can't help with that, right? Like, so typically we need people's companies to pay for it. So her company pays for her to be there, right? And her company is her. She's a solopreneur. Right. So anyhow, Thread Designs is her company name. So just if you guys would give her kudos, that would be great. So
I love it.
Yep. And then, okay, I'm going to do it, Terry. I'm going to name a couple of names, right? I get it, right? I understand that situation. You look at the advertising budget, yada, yada, yada. Oh, the other, I'm close with Epson. I thought I was challenged there, but we're kind of in the end. There's a whole bunch of like hoops that they need me to jump through. And I'm like, I'm just the chairman. I'm not the one that can tell you about the officers at SkillsUSA and how much they make. I'm sorry, that's not me.
Well, they've had a little shakeup over there too, and I'm sure that changed a lot of things.
So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I am finally making some progress there. So I have to shout out Epson. They're trying. through Richard at sewingmachine.com, Brother is actually going to be participating. For those that don't know, Brother does have a sublimation machine. So take a look at Brother. I've not personally used it, but my friend Stephanie Young has got one, and she speaks highly of it. All right. But I do have to just, I don't know, call people out. I don't know what the best way to do this tactfully, Terry. So I'm just going to do it.
Okay.
Fortunately, Hicks has declined. So as much as I love the people at Hicks, I can't recommend Hicks anymore. Go buy a Stalls. All right. Craft Express has declined, and we love Vic and all them over at Craft Express, but I get it, right? They just decided this year wasn't for them to support, even in a small way with some prizes. Sawgrass has just ghosted me. Like, I can't even get him to reply. So I don't know. Hey, if you guys are listening, and maybe you're just not getting my emails and my calls, but Aaron at montcoconsulting.com, you go look. There's about 100 emails probably in your email box from me. And then some of the other key suppliers, not that they're not helping, but they're not responding. So JDS, Johnson Plastics. Now the one company I did miss, again, I told you I might miss a couple. ISW, Coastal Business Supplies, is helping with some supplies to print on. RJ over there at ISW has been very helpful in making all that happen. So anyhow, again, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad or whatnot, but in a sense, right, I'm just really calling on the overall sublimation heat applied community. Let's see if we can step up more, right? We need some prizes for these competitors. They've worked really hard. And I just want to show them that this is an awesome industry that is not just concerned with their wallet, right? Like, can the schools buy something from me? Then it makes sense if I can have this big return on investment. I'm going to be honest with you.
These kids are the future of the industry, and they're not just decorators. They're the future employees of these companies as well.
Yeah. And again, if it's just, when you look at the big picture of it, if you can look that far in advance, like you said, these are your future customers. These are your future employees. These are your future bosses in certain cases, right? Right. Because you remember we had him on the show kind of briefly, quickly, we didn't have a full show with him. And I just spaced his name, but you remember the young man who was in the screen printing competition that we had on the show briefly?
We had him on at
ThreadX.
ThreadX, yes.
That's right. So we talked to him at ThreadX. Well, I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year. I saw him back there at Skills again. And I'm like, hey man, how are you? What are you doing back here? I knew he graduated, and he had, in his story that he told us about, he had graduated and he had started his own screen printing business.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you doing back here at Skills? He's like, well, see that kid over there? That's my buddy who works for me, and he's competing this year. And so I'm here to support him. I helped him,
Awesome.
I'm like, there you go. So a kid that was in Skills starts a screen printing business, buying screen printing supplies, then getting another kid that he's going to teach to become a business owner, and maybe they'll grow that business. Maybe that kid will go and start his own business. Right. So you cannot put a spreadsheet number on it for this year, and you probably won't ever be able to track it. But the fact of the matter is, this is something that I just believe that we need to support. Once you do step up and support, I'll do everything I can to make sure that all the schools, all the teachers, everybody that I can get myself in front of know who is supporting this group. And, I'll be honest with you, most of the teachers that I talk to now have said, hey, we buy from Condi, because Condi is who supported this event the most. And that's just who they knew, right? David's there. They got to meet David in person, So now with Condi not being there, this is a huge opportunity that I think some people are missing out on. Now we're getting some new people stepping in, Silky Socks. This is their first time being involved. I had a great conversation earlier in the week with Jure from Atlanta Vinyl, and they also have sublimation blanks and stuff like that. And they sell heat presses, and they want to be involved in a big way now. And so anyhow, I know I'm up on my soapbox here, Terry, but
well, I know you are passionate about it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just so yeah, we're looking for prizes, blanks, equipment, supplies, gift certificates. Again, we make sure that all the schools and teachers know who's there. We put a banner up in the competition area. We do try to give so all the things that the kids make there in the competition, they get to take home with them. And then we try to shove any other kind of promotional material, goodie bag. Last year, Artist Spree had some extra markers that we put in there. So if you want to put any promotional material in the goodie bags, send that to me too. I can provide you with pictures of the event in case you want to use that in your marketing afterwards. And you tell me how you need me to support you. Come on and do a podcast with you, whatever. We'll figure it out, right? There's got to be a way that you can get some additional value out of just saying, yes, this is important. So we do need a minimum of 2 prizes because we have two divisions and we have to give equal prizes on each side, and we do award prizes for first, second, and third. So if you want to give 6 prizes, that's even better, but 2, 4, 6, whatever works for you. And anything is good. So.
All right, Aaron, let's talk a little bit about trade shows. I know that you and I have both been to some already this year, but there's some kind of exciting news, I think, going on with our friends at DAX. So you're a little more in tune with that than me. So do you want to talk a little bit about the new team over there?
Yeah, definitely. It is pretty cool. So we just earlier this year, the new team was there in conjunction with Scott and Margie. In fact, I know we're kind of at the end here, but let me throw a picture up real quick here. There we go. There's Scott and Margie, the very last DAX of 2024. They are into retirement, quote unquote. They just actually were at a really cool cruise that Scott had posted some pictures on. They went and cruised Europe over there. So knowing Scott, right, they're retired, but I'm sure we'll see him around. So
exactly right. What's it? 25, 26? I don't even know how many years now.
At least 26, I think, is probably right. Yeah. So
they did just such a wonderful job with that show. They should be proud of what they've done.
Yeah, they definitely should. And so they ushered the new team in, worked with them hand in hand to make sure that all the DAX values stayed in place, because that was really important for them as they were looking to potentially retire. So the new team, Nick, TJ, and Maddie, have taken over and did a really good job kind of getting everything moved forward. And I don't know, they announced some new shows and the new dates for next year and stuff like that.
So we can say it now, because I know it was a little bit of a secret before.
It was, but then I got another email earlier in the week and there wasn't any like, hey, don't tell anybody about this. So they are taking deposits for booths, right? So I don't know. I could get myself in trouble, but again, apparently that's what I'm doing this show, is just getting myself in trouble. So here are the new dates. So they'll be back in Kansas City, pretty much the same date that they've done for many years there at the KCI Expo Center, February 21st and 22nd.
Love it, because we can see the airport from that location.
Yes. Like I'd come pick you up, but it'd probably take me longer to go there and come back for you to just get an Uber, right?
Yeah.
So that show's still happening. Great show. I can't wait I'm probably going to take the train over again. It was a blast. And so now they've added a new show, and I think people are really excited about this. We'll see how it turns out. But they're going to be doing a show in Nashville, or just outside of Nashville, actually, at the Farm Bureau Expo Center in Lebanon, Tennessee, which is, again, just outside of Nashville. And that will be happening May 9th and 10th. So it's not their typical all in the early spring kind of shows.
I'm liking the way they have them spread out, because for we speakers who did all those shows, I mean, man, we're boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. I mean, there was sometimes where there was like only 2-week turn between them, right? Yeah. So, and I know from organizing a show and being an exhibitor at a show, that was also a challenge. So they spread it out a little bit more. Now their tightest turnaround will then be the next show. So they're going to be back in Chicago, but not at Tinley Park this year. They're actually moving down to Schaumburg and the Schaumburg Convention Center. No, I think we've been there years ago. Didn't Impressions used to go there, or
We
ISS?
were there when they opened that convention center.
Okay.
It was
All right.
like the first year.
There we go. There we go. So Schaumburg Convention Center, that's happening May 30th and 31st. So at the end of May. And then there'll be a bit of a time off until they then return back to Minnesota. Their home. Actually, Nick, TJ, and Maddie are all from the Minnesota area too, just like Scott and Margie.
Oh.
But they are leaving the island. So they're getting off the island of misfit toys out there, and they're moving into Bloomington, Minnesota, and they'll be at the Hilton Doubletree. So right there in Minneapolis area. So no more, hour commutes and then crazy taxi guy back, right?
Yeah, and sometimes with the snow and ice, and I'm loving all the new locations there. And I mean,
so that's August 1st and 2nd. I forgot to mention that.
And if it's convenient for we vendors / speakers, it's also more convenient for the people attending. So
yeah, exactly. And so you'll see more people there. I mean, they always had a good turnout anyhow, but I think just these changes do make it. I'm glad that they're trying something new. So
I could get excited and maybe go back again and speak. So
there you go. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about speaking yet, so we'll stay tuned. Again, maybe I've made so many people mad that I won't be able to speak ever again.
They're trying to retrieve that email right now.
Yeah, unsend. All right. And then just another couple quick updates on the trade shows. Impressions still going strong, good stuff happening with them. They're kind of in their usual rotation, so we don't have a whole lot of news there. But
I'm going to be in Fort Worth. Are you going to be in Fort Worth? I think you are.
99% sure I will be. So just waiting to hear back on final confirmation. But last I heard,
maybe another tasting at the distillery. In fact, there absolutely is another tasting at the distillery.
Well, again, hopefully my behavior today will get me invited back to that and not get me disinvited.
Well, Equipment Zone is putting it all together. So yes, you're invited.
Okay, nice. It's good to know people. Anyhow, so speaking of so that's Impressions, and then but Graphics Pro, they're also under new management this year, and kind of getting their feet wet and underneath them. So they've kind of carried on the tradition there. But they're doing, so they're trying to bolster their programs a little bit. I don't know if they've launched 2025 yet. I'm sure if they have, it's on their website somewhere.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Philly is in July, and they have moved it out of downtown Philadelphia, more out in the suburbs, and I think that's going to help attendance, to be perfectly honest. So,
all right,
we Equipment Zone's going to be there here second week in July. It's right after 4th of July, and so I'll be out there for that as well.
Nice, yeah, and I think I'm going to be at that one, so we'll see you guys out there. And then they are doing Start Here Academy again. It'll be in Indianapolis this year, so I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be good, and again, let's see if I get myself in trouble. The talk is if we can figure out a way to make that a sustainable thing, that they may actually end up doing Start Here Academy at all of the events. So,
that'd be awesome.
Again, I might be speaking out of turn here, so nobody listens to the show anyways. It's fine.
That's not true.
It's the oldest and most listened to show, but beyond that, so. And then Terry, just can you give a quick what you know about Printing United? And
absolutely. In fact, I got a little bit of news this week. For all of us, the apparel zone the last couple of years has been pretty cool. Where it is no selling, it is an area where people are doing demonstrations, and so that is all getting finalized this week, and so that's all back in. They're trying to put that and a lot of the free seminars that are going on all in that same area together. Sweet. And of course, Aaron, you and I will be there again, broadcasting live, or at least recording a live show right there. And so we'll get the chance to talk to all the folks from Printing United, and certainly some of our friends from the industry that'll be popping in to talk to us at the show. And so I'm getting pretty excited. It's going to be in Las Vegas, and it's going to have a date. And that date is going to be
September 10th through the 12th, I think, something like that.
Yeah, let's see. Is that right? It's
September 10th through the 12th. I did get it right.
All the way to November. That's why I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Yep.
September 10th through the 12th. I know this because my 50th birthday is September 13th, so I may be staying in Vegas an extra couple of days. So,
that's awesome. So anyway, there's lots of shows, lots of events. Make sure if you are somewhere near a show or you want to hop on a plane, go to a show this year, and it will be worth your while.
Yeah. It's an investment that, again, if you're just looking at it from a spreadsheet, it might be hard to justify, but it will be once you get done and you get back, you go, oh, I'm glad I did that. Right. Yep. So definitely. All right. Well, we've covered a lot today, Terry. So thanks for letting me rant and carry on. And I'm excited about all your screen printing classes and everything happening there and all the future stuff. And again, thanks to everybody that's supporting Skills and looking for more support. So please reach out on that. Let's talk a little bit real quickly about what we've got coming up here. I will, speaking of Graphics Pro, we will be, it's happening right now. And so I'm speaking actually tomorrow at How to Master Pricing for Profit. And that's going to be at 11 a.m. There in Long Beach time. So get out there to Graphics Pro Expo Long Beach. If you're in the area, come on over and say hello. Tell me you heard us on the Two Regular Guys, and let's get a picture. Let's get a selfie, right? That's always a good time. So looking forward to seeing some people out there tomorrow. And then the other thing that I wanted to note is launched a new program called Breaking Barriers. So anybody, I talked about the fundamentals live. This is an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit of that mindset stuff. If you're feeling stuck, right, and you kind of need to identify and then rewrite a limiting belief that's happening for you, this course is fantastic for that. My wife and I put it together. We used to do this kind of more Zoom, pop. But what we found was that people needed to have a little bit more comfort, right? They wanted to be able to do it at their own pace. And so we've actually made it a module program that you can do at your own pace. But then there's also still plenty of support. So you're not just on your own, but yet you get to, kind of have the comfort of your own space to be working on this. And then you have an opportunity to set an appointment with my wife. She's fantastic at working with people. Everybody I talk to is like, my gosh, your wife is so calming. And I'm like, I know, I must be that high strung that I still. So anyhow, you get a chance to work with her, and it's been great to hear people work through that program and just find new stories to tell themselves, right? Like, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not capable of this. Becomes that's a superpower. I can do this. I will do this. Here's what I'm going to do. And it's been really fun to see people have that same light bulb moment that both my wife and I were able to have when we did this same program ourselves. So osg.link/unlock is where you can check that out. So I think I'm going to leave it with that. Terry, what do you got coming up here?
Yeah, absolutely. My complete screen printing business course just wrapped up last weekend in Chicago. I will be back in Chicago at Atlas Screen Supply on August 3rd and 4th. I'm going to be at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix, August 24th and 25th. I'm just going to say it. It's a dry heat. I will be in the Equipment Zone booth at Graphics Pro Expo in Greater Philadelphia, July 10th through 12th. I'm going to be speaking at the Impressions Expo show in Fort Worth on DTG and DTF printing, October 24th and through 26th. I will be in the Equipment Zone booth at Printing United in Las Vegas, September. It's right here on my outline, September 10th through 12th. And of course, you'll be able to see Aaron and I doing our show live there as well. We'd love to have you guys participate and come up to say hello and watch for all of my upcoming events at terrycombs.com.
Yeah, check that out. And yeah, Terry, the other thing about Printing United that we forgot to mention, or I forgot to mention, was the fishbowl is going to be back, right? So I'm going to have to break out the "Don't Feed the Animals" sign again.
Exactly right. The fishbowl will be behind glass doing our show. So
that way people can't
bring in those tomatoes.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Well, you guys, Eric's busy as usual and got lots of great stuff that he's doing for people. So make sure you check him out at ericcampbell.com and you can find everything that he's got happening. You go watch previous episodes of the Take Up and tuning into the Take Up and checking all that out over at ericcampbell.com. Awesome. All right. Well, Dane's been waiting in the wings patiently here for us. And so let's get this spicy sauce going. How about that?
Some Cajun style sauce going, Dane.
Here we go.
Hey everybody, Dane Clement here with Stalls. This secret sauce video is going to be a little different than the other ones I usually do. Right? I'm not going to be showing any cool artwork or software or showing a technique or anything in this one. Hope you stick with me through this one. It's going to be short and allow me to vent a little bit about some of the things that are going on in the world today as it pertains to our work, which is pretty important. Basically, I got some notes here, by the way. So if I look down and you see me, I'm looking at my notes because this is not my normal style. I don't do this. I usually show in software and kind of building something right through. So this is talking to the camera, not my normal do every day type of thing here. So here we go. First thing I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about what I struggle with pretty regularly, and that is AI artwork generators. And I teach classes on them, and I use them every day, and I think they're great, kind of. Like I have a love-hate relationship with it. That's why I like to say it. I hate it more than I love it, and the reason is because I think that they built it on the backs of other people. And what I mean by that is these big companies create this software that literally skims every image in the world on the internet, and it started there. So they're using photography stuff that people put up their artwork from artists. There's video and audio too, and I'm not going to talk about those specifically here. I'm just talking about what we would do to put an image on a shirt, right? Our industry. And I do. Like, I love Midjourney. It's my favorite. Ideogram's cool. Leonardo's cool. All these other things are great to use. I get, and this is where where I struggle with it, right? It is great because I can come up with 4 concepts in literally less than a minute. Seconds, sometimes 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds, right? That would take me longer to do a thumbnail of one. Personally, like writing it, drawing it. I mean, like physically doing it. I can't do it that fast. That's why these things are so great. It allows us to create artwork super fast, that sort of thing. You have to pay them. So basically, we're using an app that typically you're going to pay for. Some of them are free. I get that. Some of them allow you to use it commercially for free. Some of them, if you want to use it commercially in your business, you have to pay a subscription to it, which is, interesting. It is what it is. But these apps were created because of the images that other people put up online, right? They stole all that IP from these people. They didn't get compensated for all the images that they put up in there. Yet I can literally ask for an image to be created in the style of a specific artist. So when they say, no, we didn't steal anything, that's not right. How is that possible then? So yeah, it was built, these things were built on other people's IP. And I just got a problem with it. I don't think it's right? I know that since it's here, it's just a tool. And we should utilize that tool because it's much faster and all that sort of thing. And I get that. And that's why I use it. I teach classes on it. I do think it's a great tool. I just don't like the way it came into being, maybe, right? So, which kind of brings me to my whole point of this particular video, right? And it's going to go to Adobe and specifically their business practices, which I think are pretty crappy. And I've thought they were pretty crappy for a long, long time. And it seems like other people are finally starting to pay attention and see. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm known as a Photoshop guy. I've been using Photoshop since version 2. That's before it even had layers in it, right? This is going back way back early 90s. I don't even remember when. Maybe, way back. So what I did was, at the time, they had plugins were pretty abundant, right? They were all over the place. They still have some plugin software companies out there now, but not as much. So back in the day, before they had layers, I bought a plugin that allowed me to have layers inside of Photoshop version 2. Cool, right? So Adobe thought that was cool too. And basically, in the next version, they just took that information, that idea. They thought it was cool. They put it in the software app. That company's out of business. Now, whether they were compensated for that, I have no idea. I would venture to guess probably not. So that was like my first exposure to Adobe's crappy business practices, right? And I'm an Adobe guy. I use Photoshop every day. But I think I'm going to slow down or start using other things because there are other ones out there. So after that company went out of business, they've done it over and over and over again. It's just happened for years. Then Adobe comes into subscriptions, which, you can love them or hate them. I kind of don't really appreciate them. I'd rather have an option to buy it and just upgrade whenever I want to upgrade. Because, what we do as creating artwork for shirts, our industry type of thing, we don't need all this other stuff that Photoshop is. Photoshop's just gotten to be so big and just plugged in full of stuff that we don't need. And if you need it, you need 3D and you need video, well, okay, that's great. It's in there. I don't use any of that stuff. So why am I paying $50 whatever a month to use it? I would rather just get on a CD, get it as a download one time, boom, I'm done. At least having that option. Because when the subscriptions came about, it was, you have those options. You can still buy it on DVD. And you can also, go ahead and here and use the cloud version. This is, that you have it. You had both for a little while, and then now you don't, right? So I don't know. I don't trust any of these big companies at all, I guess, right? So I guess, knowing that, let's go ahead and take a look at which I'm sure you guys have heard about. It's all over the internet right now is Adobe's terms of use change, right? So they made a change to their terms of use. That little dialog box that pops up that everybody just hits, okay, let me get out, let me start doing my work. Nobody ever reads those things. Well, it's kind of cool that somebody started reading them evidently because it is a big old noise. Now, some of these things have been in there for a few years now, right? So it's not new, but I think more people are waking up to it and being aware of things. And that's kind of my whole point about this whole video today is I don't know that we should be just using and just going along because they say we need to use it. So we're just going to go ahead and use it and not worry about the, what repercussions or what can happen or anything. So I don't know. It's one of those things that just bug me. These are my struggles, right? So all I know is when I get out of here today, I probably should go in the swamp in my boat, decompress, and just clear my head because this stuff drives me crazy sometimes. So let's do this. Let's take a look at the terms of service. So here we go. Here's Adobe's terms of service, right? So I'm not going to read all this stuff. You can go read it individually. I'm just going to show you certain parts that kind of make me go, Content. Content means any text, information, communication, material such as audio files, video files, electronic documents, or images that you upload, import into, or embed for use in our software services services and software, right? So that's interesting. That means any image I open in Photoshop, I've imported into, so I guess it's going to check it out and look at it, right? So those are so here we go, licensing. Solely for the purposes of operating and improving the services and software. So the only thing we're going to do here, we're going to talk about this licensing. This is what I don't understand. If that is the case, then the rest of this sentence is a complete BS. You grant us a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, create, derivatives of, based on, publicly perform, and translate the content. I'm sorry, what? Excuse me? I'm using your software to create my artwork, but in order to do that, I just automatically grant you the right to do all this stuff. And this is my favorite. Very next paragraph here, right? The ownership. Well, now, we don't own the software. You own the software, right? Look, you retain all rights and ownership of your content. But we can do anything we want with your content as if we own it. I mean, they can sell it, they can use it, they can display it, they can distribute, they can modify it, they can do just as if they owned it, but they can technically say, well, we don't own it, you own it, but we just can act as if we own it and do anything we want to do with it. So I call BS on this, and this is a typical Adobe, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm starting to really get annoyed with them, and this just kind of puts it to the next level. Now, it's not just them. For instance, Windows Recall. What the hell is that? If you never heard of it, it's a thing coming in Windows 11, right? It's called Windows Recall, and it literally constantly takes screenshots of your computer. Always. And it uploads it, and it analyzes by AI, and it stores it. I'm sorry, but that's creepy as all get out. So every single thing done on that Windows computer, everything is screenshotted, sent off to the cloud somewhere, and they analyze it. So nothing ever leaks out of these cloud systems, right? Nothing ever. I mean, you could be doing your banking and you type in your password. Guess what? There's a screenshot of that thing sitting in Windows Cloud somewhere. What? These things they just piling and piling and piling, right? These things change so fast, it drives me absolutely out of my mind. So maybe it's time for an initiative, right? Maybe it's a time for, hey, we got AI artwork over here and we got created with human hands over here. Maybe there's something we can bring into that. So if you want to use the AI, use it. I'm going to use it because of what it does, but I don't like the fact that I have to use it, because in order to get my job done faster and make myself more valuable to the company, I need to use it. Right? I get it. And that's the part where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in my book, right? It's like there is no win-win here anymore, right? And that's a big struggle. Obviously, it's a struggle I'm just going to have to live with, right? And deal with and just decompress out in the swamps whenever the hell I need to get a break from it. So then I can rejuvenate my batteries and come on back in and deal with all the headaches again, right? Anyway, I think that's maybe this initiative should be something we should look a little bit more closely at. I know I'm on board. That's kind of all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to put it out there. If you haven't thought about it, maybe you need to think about it. Maybe you need to think about where we are, where we're going. Because I'm really trying to figure out what the next steps are, what can make it better. What can we control? Because I'm sorry, but I don't trust anybody anymore. These big companies, whatever they say, look at that, throw it out of the window. It's complete BS. I guarantee you there's a backdoor angle that they're talking about, and they're just going to market it to you like there's no issues whatsoever. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread, this stuff. So, all right. Enough of all that fun and exciting news, right? I will tell you this, so I'm going to show you. You may see this in some of my future videos, right? So as an alternative to Adobe Photoshop, since I am a Photoshop guy, this software here, Affinity Photo, is a rock solid app. It looks a lot like Photoshop, operates a lot like Photoshop. I teach classes on it, or have in the past quite a bit. It's a great app. And then when Adobe came out with their generative fill and their Firefly in there now in the beta, so those kinds of things helped Adobe leap past Affinity Photo because of that feature. But if you're going to use an AI app, you can use something else. Midjourney, Ideogram, create the artwork there, come in here, add text, do what you got to do in this app, because these guys are not looking at your artwork and not analyzing it. They're not checking it. I don't know. I just think that they do all those things in the guise of this is good for humanity. You're going to make sure that you're not doing anything illegal. Is it going to stay there? Is that all they're going to do? Or is there some rogue employee going to leak out stuff? If you got an NDA and you're working on stuff that no one's supposed to see, good luck with that, because you now have no control over that. Anyway, there's a bunch of that, something to think about, right? And I promise my next one, I will be in a much more happier, jovial mood, and we'll create some artwork and take a look at those kind of things. So thanks for hanging in there. If you're still here, appreciate it for hanging in to the end, and I look forward to my next one. See ya.
All right. Extra spicy, Dane. Thank you for that.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Dane. All right, Terry. Well, we've gone long enough. It's been a great show, and thank you for this opportunity to chat back and forth. At the end of the day, Terry, this is kind of why we started this, is for you and I to have an opportunity to chat. So we appreciate you guys coming along with us, and hopefully we were able to give you some information and make you think a little bit harder about some stuff too. So
absolutely. We also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, for everything he does, turning those dials and pushing those buttons and keep us on track every week. Thanks, Eric.
Yep, Eric, we appreciate you very much. Next week, stay tuned. We are efforting on some new shows. We've actually maybe have some UV DTF talk coming up. I know we've got a couple of shows in July that I'm really excited about. And so
lots of irons in the fire, but hey, we'd still love to hear from you, and come on the show and tell us what you do.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely love to hear from you. I think we're even talking to Michelle Moxley and some cool stuff she's doing. So really looking forward to these future shows, and stay tuned. So
all
Terry,
right. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time